This first question is for all of you. Chris points out to Naomi in the film that art requires truth. Amen to that. How is this film a testament to art requiring truth?
Well, I think that one of the most important things that, particularly the writing team and the producing team, we all talked about was having a level of authenticity for the film, and making sure that like we were trying to come from a very honest, truthful place for these characters and for the themes of the story. And so that was definitely something that I think even as we were on set, that was sort of something that we were constantly sort of talking about and trying to hone in. And that also extended even to the editing process of like reworking lines and saying like, okay, is this the best way that we could be like delivering this idea or this thought or this character beat? And I think that that's just the way that every director should be coming into a film and just saying like, how can we make it better? How can we refine these themes? How can we tell these stories better? How can we tell them more authentically to make sure that these characters that we normally don't see in these kinds of films are being represented?
Absolutely. And Mari, I just have to say, I was also blown away to the fact that you edited this film as well, which I think when folks see editor, obviously, I think that they don't understand how much that entails. And it's such a big part of the movie magic process. And I just want to bow down to that because that is a marvel.
Thank you.
What about you, Pooya and Lynn?
The story that was given, it was a beautiful story. And I felt that I had to be fully there, fully invested. I remember one actress many years ago I worked with, and she said, when they say cut, I'm out of it. Like I'm done. And I always thought that if you're truly in the character, when they yell cut, you can't be, because it's kind of like if you've gone deep, then it's going to take you a while to come. So then you haven't gone deep. And how I looked at these characters was that they needed to be fully lived, fully invested in. So their gain had to be my gain and their loss had to be my loss, because if it wasn't going to cost me anything as the actor who was portraying this character, why would the audience care? It's like, sometimes you watch a movie and the characters are supposed to be in love and then one of them dies. And sometimes I'm like, I don't really care that the person died because I didn't really care that they were together. But I felt that in this story, the joy that these two characters shared, the history that they shared, the love that they had for each other, and then the resentment that comes out of that, and the pain and the loss, that had to be fully lived through. So when Lynn and I got to this project, it was like we had to know everything that was relevant in their past that connected the two of them. Whether it was the first time they met, how they met. Lynn, you remember these stories we were going through? How they met, what made them talk to each other, what did they enjoy about each other, what was the thing that sparkled between the two of them. And we really explored that, so that now that you meet them after everything that's happened, you have that as their baggage, and then they can act from there and then go on and be open and vulnerable and everything that happens. I don't want to give away everything that happened. But I felt that we had created that deep root together, so that at any given moment, we knew exactly what our backstories and what our joint backstories were. And we had the love and support of everybody in the team, so we could be completely truthful and present at every moment.
Oh, well, that 100% showed through your performances. And also what I loved about this film too is the different perspectives on memory, and the different points of view of memory, and creating those memories. Even though you create a memory with someone, doesn't necessarily mean the memory is the same. Lynn, as women, we often feel the pressure to choose family over career and vice versa. How does that societal expectation affect Naomi?
I think Naomi is very indicative of what's going on. I mean, we see it in the pandemic right now happening a lot, where women's careers sort of take a back seat to family. It's not a problem that I know firsthand because I'm not a mother, but I certainly know almost everyone that I know who is a mother has to deal with this at some point. And I certainly do relate, as just when you get older and your expectations of what it means to be a quote unquote woman, and what society expects of you, how motherhood does or doesn't define you as a woman, and how what you want sort of can disappear when you choose to identify as something else. There's no this and that. There is that, but it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Very, very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And one route, which I think a lot of women do end up taking, but resents herself for it and resents Chris for it as well.
Absolutely. When talking about her transition, Chris powerfully tells Naomi at the bar, "This isn't what I wanted. It wasn't a want, it was survival." Pooya, why is it important for Chris to educate Naomi in that moment? And also, why is it crucial that storytelling in all its forms do the same?
That exact moment, we actually shot it different ways of how charged her response was, that it wasn't what I wanted. And I feel it's because people have told me that this is what you chose.
Yeah.
And it's a choice, because it's a choice between life and death. That if you don't do this, then you will somehow end up destroying yourself. Now, whether it's alcohol or booze or suicide or whatever. And I feel that when people think of it as a choice, it takes away the agency, it takes away the importance, and it makes it like a haircut that, you can have it or not. Whereas how I try to explain it to people, it's like an episode of Twilight Zone, that you know who you are, but everybody sees you as something else. And at some point you start questioning it. You're like, am I mad? Is everybody else mad? Is there a place in society for me? And a lot of storytelling, especially around trans female characters, because also we rarely even touch the trans masculine part of the spectrum. So this focusing on the trans feminine is usually told from the point of view of a cis hetero man and how they feel about a trans person. It's like me talking about a woman's identity around a hysterectomy. I would have no idea what that's like. And when I put my judgment, I'm taking their story away. How are trans feminine stories usually told? It's someone that's either someone's sexual object or a villain or a victim that somebody else is going to rescue or do some horrible thing to. So they're ancillary. They don't have facets. They're not a full human. Their sole part of the identity is that they're trans. The difference here, and I think what Chris is trying to do, is open up that it was more than just me wanting to have longer hair, that me wanting to wear a dress, is that I looked at myself in the mirror and I didn't see the person who I was. I didn't recognize that person. And it brought me to a point that I wanted to destroy myself until I did this. And that takes it out of this idea that, oh, it was just something that, I thought, well, wouldn't this be cool to do? And it took it that had I not done it, I would be dead right now. And people have to look at it that it's not a choice.
Yeah, absolutely. I just thought that I'm curious to see what the other takes looked like, but the way that it landed was just so powerful. And I think a real eye-opening moment for Naomi too, who I think considers herself a very, educated, open-minded person. But even in that moment needed to be educated, which I think is important also to see. Mari, how does this film challenge that a certain kind of life doesn't need to look a certain kind of way?
I think that the film definitely challenges that. I think that in the end, I hope that the audience will sort of come away with like a bittersweet feeling of like that what what might have been or what you might have wanted is not what you're going to necessarily be given, but that there are so many other beautiful things that could come out of that. And I think that both of the characters for so long had spent so much time sort of regretting and reflecting on these things that in some ways then became like a cage for them to exist in their own minds and their own thought process. And I think what I hope that people could come away from it is the sense that like, let us not be constrained by those things. That like the past is something that can like shape who we are, but it doesn't have to define us. And I hope that the characters, you know, I mean, we only see them in this one little spot, and then, you know, my storytelling heart says, oh, please go off and learn these lessons and grow as people and learn these things, and hopefully the audience can also be imbued with some of those lessons as well.
Absolutely. It felt like you really put us right there. It made me feel like I was having a conversation along with these characters. It felt like, in a way, they were reaching out to me, and I was a part of the conversation, because you really put this beautiful emphasis on the importance of conversation, the importance of honesty, but respect at the same time. I would say respectful honesty, which is the key, I think, to good conversations. Lastly, Lynn, I think that there's something to be said, and this film tackles how, you know, one, we can sort of have art help us through trauma. And I think that I don't want to give away any spoilers, but your performance, both in the film as Lynn and as Naomi at the end, was such a sight to see, and was such a cathartic, I think, release for not only Naomi, but I think all women in a sense. Why do you think it's important to kind of show that trauma can be processed through art, and the importance of processing trauma through art?
I mean, I don't know any other way to do it. I've been performing since I was 5. And I've been going through trauma the whole time. So I feel like it's been as normal to me to use whatever art form I'm using, whether it's writing or singing or playing piano or acting or directing. It's always been a way for me to make sense. I mean, honestly, whenever something traumatic happens to me, I file it away thinking this will be in something. I have whole scenes from my movie, I Will Make You Mine, that were, you know, from the most horrible times in my life, that I was like, this is going to be useful. And we're not cutting it out because I need it to be useful.
I need it. Yeah.
I don't know if that is helpful. Like, I don't know if that is a reason, but for me, that's why I've always created. And I don't know how other people, you know, process their trauma, because I feel really lucky that I have an outlet for it. But I do think that it does help other people be seen. You know, movies like this are my favorite because they just really shine a light on the human experience. Like, there's no buildings blowing up. There's nothing crazy, you know, supernatural happening to escape from. It's really just looking at yourself and at humanity and for what it is. And something as simple as like sitting across from your friend and catching up turns into art. I think that's so beautiful.
Oh, yes. And it makes me too. I mean, I wonder how you all feel too, is that this made me miss human connection. It made me miss being physically close to someone. And that kind of energy that's exchanged, that I don't know if we can get like this, and the power of that, and how that energy exchange is just as powerful as a blowing up building or like a, you know, car chase. It's just as exhilarating, maybe even more.
Because it can happen anytime.
Exactly. When you least expect it, you know. But, well, again, congratulations on this lovely, lovely film. I can't wait to see what you all do next. I hope you come together again and make more movie magic together, because it was truly beautiful. And it felt like such a collaboration. And just congratulations. And thank you so much for your time today, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so much.
Meg.
Thanks for having us.